It's just such a happy surprise. I'll mute myself and you guys let me know when.
Okay, we're ready.
Michelle, I'm so glad you're with us one more week. I thought I missed you, so I'm so glad you're with us one more week.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It has been full on.
Well,
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wish Alliance's Conscious Awakening series. I'm your host, Sheila Seppi, founder of the Wish Alliance, and I want to welcome our fabulous co-host, Michelle Anderson, who's going to be introducing our special guest tonight, Laura Eisenhower. And I'd also like to introduce Washayla Sananda. And Washayla, I'm going to have you to tell us a little bit about this phenomenal production that you have coming up. You're the producer of the Alchemy of Ascension, and I'm going to invite you in just a moment to share a little bit about that. So if you want to go ahead and do that right now, that would be awesome.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. I'm so grateful to be here. And so I'm Washayla Sananda, and I'm the host of the Alchemy of Ascension podcast and summit series. And I have a new season coming out. It's the Alchemy of Ascension Season 5, activating star seeds, walk-ins, and the new human of the golden age. And that begins March 14th, and it'll go through March 18th. It's sent out by email. You can register by email. And so I have amazing people on this season that I'm so excited about. Some of them you'll be very familiar with, including, of course, Sheila Seppi, Ellen Steinfeld. I've got Neil Gore, Geraldina Roscoe, Phil Gruber, and then lots of people that you may or may not be as familiar with, like Adirondha with Marilyn Harper. I've got Ashana, beautiful singing bowl artist, Brian Scott, who has a great YouTube channel. Celestine Starr, I have Rebecca Hardcastle Wright, Dr. John Ryan, Jerry Sargent, Mark Atwood, and just so many more. So it's going to be a really fun season. It's all about really awakening to our starseed heritage and walk-ins and what are walk-ins about, and lots of amazing stories about people's walk-in experiences, as well as what it is to be a new human in this ascending world and how to activate some of our gifts as new humans and how we can become more activated in this process. So that's what it's all about. Can I share the link, or how would you like me to do?
Sure.
Want to know how to find you?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. So you have to be able to spell my name, which is always the tricky part. It's pronounced Washayla, but it's WAXELASANDA.com/AOA5, which is for Alchemy of Ascension 5.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I also want to thank everyone else who is here tonight for attending, and a special thank you to our partner, Alan Steinfeld, with New Realities, and also Neil Gore with the Portal to Ascension, and to all of the YouTube audiences out there that are watching. So if you like what you're seeing, please hit that like button, subscribe to these channels. We really appreciate it. And Neil, are you still with us?
Neil, I hope so.
You're somewhere off in Playa del Carmen, probably,
Okay.
right?
Well, what I want to do then is I'm going to share Neil's site real quickly and talk about some of the upcoming events. And I know that Laura is going to be doing something on Portal to Ascension, so maybe we can talk about that also. But let me go ahead right now, share my screen. And I'll just bring Neil's site up. There we go. Let's get in here. So for you folks who may not have visited, all you do is go into portaltoascension.org. And here we go. And there's always beautiful headings here on the front that is kind of like that slideshow that will show you who's coming up. You can check out past events, but let's kind of see who's coming up.
Well, that last thing, that Egyptian panel is going to be a great forum on ancient Egypt by real masters in the field, J.J. Hertog, Desiree Hertog, William Henry. It's going to be a really great spiritual overview of ancient Egypt that's happening this Saturday. So,
Woohoo!
yes. And then,
Great.
yes.
And then, of course, on the 23rd and 24th, we've got William Henry coming up, Michael Tellinger on March the 6th. And here's this production you were talking about that's coming up on Saturday, March the 5th, Ancient Egypt and the Extraterrestrial Connection. And so I'm sure that's going to speak to the hearts of many of you viewers. So please be sure to register now. So thank you guys so much. And I want to real quickly just show you the Wish Alliance. Wish Alliance stands for Walk-ins, Indigo, Starseed, and Hybrid. And we are a collection of individuals who have come together specifically for the purpose of creating a multi-dimensional conscious evolution group, which has really turned into being more of a movement. And we have a variety of ambassadors who have joined us. And I'm just going to scan down through here because these are the individuals that have actually presented their services and offerings for anyone who is interested in contacting them, whether it would be for DNA activations, maybe someone is looking for a star seed reading or a soul star reading, maybe you're looking for healing, and all you have to do is go to the services and you can just scan down through there. Let's see. Healing and integration, you can choose and see who all is available. And then you just click, let's go to Mr. Phil, since you are on here tonight. So you can learn more about Phil. You can email Phil. You can also look through and you see Karen Swain. And you can go to each of their websites like we have just done. So we'll just click on Neil's and it brings up the portal to Ascension. Also, if you are someone who is really called to the work of the Wish Alliance, please visit our site so that you can go again to, come on, here we go. Let me just go back. The ambassadors page, click on this, and April has done a phenomenal job of putting up all of these forms that you can submit your services online, and once they're reviewed and approved, we will let you know and they will go live on the site. So you just hit the ambassador application and you can scroll down through and submit the projects that you have that you would like to share with the world. So let me go ahead and get back to our regular screen.
I just want to say, Sheila, it's so important, the community you are creating at the forefront of the consciousness movement. No one is bringing together walk-ins, indigos, starseeds, hybrids under this one umbrella. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And we also do conferences here.
I want to echo that and just share that I think a lot of us have had a vision for a very long time that the way through this is to consciously collaborate without any competition. Absolutely. And you model that so beautifully for this community because each one of us, you know, we're really feeling like the soul family dynamic is so important right now to get us through this window of time. I'd like to see Laura on there as well. You know, because I keep seeing more and more names popping in, more and more, being able to refer more and more people to jump on and collaborate in this way. You don't seem like you ever sleep, Sheila. You're doing a phenomenal job. And Laura, that's why I think Laura was surprised when she first came on and saw all these familiar faces, because this is a crossover community. This is, you know, Laura, we've done so many things with different different conferences. We've been at Conscious Life Expo together. We've been at 1111 Star Knowledge together, and we've been at Contact in the Desert together and Portal to Ascension. And I am just so thrilled to see that we landed. We landed. This is a heart-centered community, and more people are waking up right now, and we're helping to hold their hands and cross over that bridge, and that's what I think this February series was all about. Laura, you are the caboose. You're going to tie it all in, because we had a lot of very powerful women, nurturing women, talking every Monday night in February. The first Monday we had Heather Powers talking about the solar feminine, really integrating our masculine principles with the feminine and balancing those out, but using those to help propel us and activate us. And then the next week we had Larissa Stowe, and she sang an amazing song. Heather sang an amazing song too, talking about the her Kundalini awakening and her Weevolution download that she got, which is what we're really modeling right now, the Weevolution, rather than it being a revolution, being all about each one of us coming together for change in a heart-centered, uplifting way. But not a lot of times people will say, oh, it's all love and light, love and light. I think we're actually showing that we're alchemizing with all of this, and last week with Mary Hardy, the stuff that she talked about with the great invocation and the Cathar's prophecy and giving us some actual tools to use during this time. And Laura, when we were talking about having you on, you seem to be everywhere, really being the cosmic bridge and the gateway to help all of us really see how we can integrate what's happening on the earth right now, and how to use our DNA and the keys and codes we came in with, and how to upgrade our DNA. And I started thinking about, because you are such a global alchemist, and that's, kind of one of the first titles, I see you as just a representation of the divine feminine in action. And when we're seeing where we're at right now with a lot of chaotic nodes happening, I noticed that they affect you just like they affect me. And we are able to talk about, yep, I'm in it right now, being affected, But how do we find that and cultivate calm within the chaos? By using our inner alchemy. And I think that you can speak really eloquently to that, because you're a master at that, from my witnessing of you.
Michelle, that's too much.
Welcome.
That's really sweet of you to say. I mean, man, the last couple of years has been, I don't know how much of a space I have to talk. So I just want to know before I start going on.
You have as much space as you would like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to process. And a lot of us have been in this field for a long time. And we've known about like dark agendas, New World Order, negative ET agendas, and dark technologies and this and that. But it's a whole other thing when you're living through it, right? And here we are, right? It's like warning. It's similar to like warning a person that a hurricane's about to hit. Maybe people are taking it seriously and some aren't. But when it actually hits, it doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable. And that might not be the best metaphor, but the last couple of years has been a roller coaster for a lot of people, and for myself and the clients I've been working with as well, as far as how they're processing what to do with their lives. Should I stay with this career? They're telling me that I can't have a paycheck and feed my family if I don't comply to this outer authority. And a lot of the stuff that's been in the movies and just a lot of the things that have been kind of dropped that seem to be fiction is actually now like presenting itself as far as where this timeline could potentially go. And so when we look at timelines and difference between organic ascension and artificial timelines, it really comes down to us. We can only win the war on consciousness within ourselves. And all the planetary alignments that have been taking place has to do with this huge growth period and this plutonic death, rebirth, alchemical transformation of humanity. So anytime humanity is about to take a leap, at least in the last 26,000 years, following the final cataclysms of Atlantis and some of the wars, like the Egyptian Sumerian invasion, and when we started to really lose our galactic memories and our DNA became very limited, and science started to teach us that we have junk DNA instead of helping us to understand that the junk is actually higher harmonic universes, and it takes us on a journey of like integrating polarity to achieve sacred union, alchemical marriage, and hierogamic union into that kind of twin flame vibration. So everything like from that point on has been sort of an indoctrination program, particularly after like the Second World War, when Project Paperclip and Mockingbird happened. This sort of indoctrination began to take place because of amnesia. We couldn't like really kind of challenge it unless we really dug deep and went into those dark night of the soul journeys to be like, wait a second. And that's kind of what I ventured on. I'm like, I didn't always process it in that way. I was just like, okay, Lord just can't sit still in class, has ADD, doesn't want to pay attention. But I'm like, no, there's more. There's hidden treasures. There's something else that we need to reclaim. So I, kind of went on that journey. So to bring it back to where, because I do go off on tangents. When we, kind of, see what's going on in the alchemy of these times and the planetary alignments that are going on, there's always going to be a psyops or some sort of weaponization of an initiation that we have the capacity to step into and integrate. So in the last couple of years, we have been in the nodal axis of Cancer, Capricorn, and then it went to South Node Sagittarius, North Node Gemini, which had a lot to do with communication, right? So we see masking, we see censorship, we see a lot of people like being just like, wow, you almost didn't even think it was possible. Like, we're in America, I can't share, like my channel's going to be taken down kind of thing. So they understand that, which one would call the occult, which to me, like, is a terminology that sometimes people can get confused by. But to me, it's about like, okay, astrology helps us to understand the fullness of all that we are, and we're here to gain self-knowledge. We want to gain self-knowledge. So if there's a targeting on our voice, our ability to breathe, okay, well, that means that we need to look at the other side of it to correct the inversions and remember that it's all about speaking truth and taking a deep breath, because the breath of life is so available. As of 2010, the sun started to move through the 13th sign of Fiancus, which is ruled by the ether. And the Venus transits have been creating this correction to turn the inverted pentagram right side again, so that the ether is able to penetrate the earth, air, fire, water elementals that are represented by our soul qualities, but also the nucleic acids in our DNA. The mitochondrial DNA is connected to the fifth element, ether, and it's been damaged, and there were reversal codes and dark technologies that created reversals so that we didn't have access to that ether energy, to the point where these dark cycles of history have shown a humanity that is constantly in world wars, epidemics, pandemics, and all these things that like just like make us look like a very weak humanity. Like, we need our teachers, we need our politicians, we need our priests, we need all this outside of ourselves. And it's really been banking on the fact that we don't remember who we are. So these reversals are not just the dark technologies that harvest our life force. It's the indoctrination programs, the psyops, the MK Ultra stuff, and Project Mockingbird, Project Paperclip was the delivery to things like Project Mockingbird, and all the different MK Ultra projects like Mannequin and Monarch that created influential people in our society to steer and socially engineer generations, at least 2 or 3 since 1947. So this correction taking place is happening on a cosmic and earthly level, but it doesn't mean that like we're going to be able to tap into it. As long as we're like looking at our devices, I'm not talking about like people like us, but as long as like maybe mainstream sort of culture is just like looking at the TV, looking at the mainstream news and just like accepting whatever narrative is being steered, they are literally being distracted away from what is really available. And they are hoping to harvest that to create a new world order. But we know that this particular window is an ascension window period, which means that this ether energy, which is now available, means that we need to have the courage to say, wait a second, I need to steer myself over here and embrace my truth frequency, my authenticity, and a greater truth that is connected to cosmic and earthly forces, cosmic and natural law, and the whole concept of 0-point unified field energies, and getting like past the indoctrination of religion, school systems, educational systems, and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't mean that those things should be completely discarded. We can appreciate it and what it taught us, but we don't want it to enslave us either. We don't want it to then say, well, because you were educated by this, or you went to this church, or this or that, when it comes to this particular window, we're going to dictate to you what this should look like. This is where we need to have our wings and say, all right, we've gained a lot from whatever, you know, let's take those skills and abilities that we've developed and bring it back to ourselves as a sovereign being, and have our wings and break the chains and open that cage so that we can fly. And they don't want that. They're like, oh, wait, you're not supposed to awaken. We were gonna like drag you into this pandemic stuff and this maybe fake alien invasion and all these different tactics to keep us dependent, right? It's sort of like, would we want to live with our parents like in our 40s and 50s? I mean, sometimes we have to couch surf on our parents' bed when we're having a breakup or a divorce, but I mean, that doesn't make any sense on a physiological or biological level, that there's a certain point where you say goodbye to whatever authority. But there's some tyrannical authority systems, the cabal, deep state, that has infiltrated these power structures to the point where they're like, we're not going to let you go. We're going to manipulate you so that this dependency is going to be prolonged. And that's, you know, connected to the Saturn moon matrix, the Nephilim reversal grid, the Niberian diodic crystal reversal grids that have made the ether energy not accessible. And that ether energy connected to the 13th sign of Fiacus, connected to numerologically, or in tarot, the death card, is that we don't fear death. They're weaponizing this transformation process by making everybody afraid of death, when this is the great initiation to really begin to embrace the mother womb, you know, the 13, you know, the whole process of death, but, you know, the death of the old paradigm, the death of the tyrannical rulership, the death of the narcissistic partners that we might have had, or the control freaks that we might have been caught up with. Maybe we were the person that was that kind of archetype, or maybe we were victims to it. Dropping all that. And when we drop all that, we begin to, you know, resurrect the divine blueprint of the Christ-Sophia and the true integration of polarity of the masculine and feminine, instead of like the exiled and lost and forgotten feminine and the tyrannical sort of patriarchal system that is just like, you know, demonizing the gifts of what the feminine has, and instead of being like, okay, well, you just make babies and like we're gonna go after war. I mean, men have been just as affected, but when you look at the structure of how they've chosen to create these programs, you know, it's been incredibly wounding to both sides. I mean, men go off to war and have their limbs blown off, and women are just like, you know, having babies, like missing their husbands. But when you look at the actual structure of society, though, that's when you can tell, like, anyway, that could be a whole other tangent. So in this death process and cycle, there are many different levels to it. Now we're in the South Node Scorpio, North Node Taurus. So South Node has to do with what are we reflecting upon? And the North Node has to do with what are we here to integrate? So the nodal axis in anybody's personal chart and on a like larger picture level, goes way beyond the personality matrix and all this mind control, social engineering stuff, because we are here to come in to integrate polarity. So if a south node is like in one position and the north node is in another, these are opposite signs in the zodiac. So, okay, we went from south node Sagittarius, north node Gemini, had to do with communication. Now we're in south node Scorpio, opposite sign Taurus. So we're now like reflecting upon all the times we died or feared death or embrace the death process within one body to be able to transform and be reborn without losing the physical vessel. And over the course of many lifetimes, we are here to figure out that level of mastery. So even if the physical body doesn't want to hang out for this particular juncture, it's okay. We don't have to, I mean, we want to mourn, you know, but we also want to celebrate that person's life. They might be like, okay, you know, I couldn't go through that death cycle. I didn't quite figure it out. So we're going to see a lot of casualties and a lot of people dying in this period, but that's okay, because death is never a finality. But a lot of people that are holding this level of mastery or willing to embrace it are going to go through this death cycle and come out the other end as a butterfly, or as somebody that has sort of achieved or mastered the whole concept of death to the point where transformation and alchemy is possible. And on a cosmic and earthly level, these things are available to us to the point where we can upgrade our DNA and hold an override frequency to the point where we can nullify and neutralize the dark weapons and the mark of the beast and whatever the jab or whatever the fears connected to 5G and all that stuff is. The minute we can go through this initiation and passage, we gain the upper hand to the point where none of those technologies have any power over us, because those technologies don't work all by themselves. They rely on the social engineering and the mind control to actually work. They need to drop our frequency to the point where that AI can assimilate into us to the point where we're like a hive mind. But even if we took the jab or didn't, or whatever we've been breathing in with the chemtrails, we all have been exposed to this stuff, or spike proteins. The minute we overcome the social engineering games of divide and conquer, and we embrace the truth and love frequency, to me, at least this is how I feel, we alchemize, neutralize all these toxins, all these weapons, and they are no longer weapons. And when we can visualize this in our everyday, instead of fearing these things, when we look in the sky and see things being sprayed, or like, oh, I don't want to hang out with my family member because they either got the jab or didn't get the jab, to the point where it's breaking up families and relationships, we can drop all that nonsense and just say, love is the greater frequency, and we can neutralize all this stuff, because we're not in the frequency of divide and conquer to the point where we're not concerned with like trying to red pill somebody. We're not right or left, you know, all these different tactics that we see in society. We drop all that and we just say, I just love you, regardless of our differences, because to me, true oneness is diversity and harmony. And we can heal these people and heal ourselves by creating that bridge. And I'll kind of like leave it at that. I hope that makes sense.
I want to share a story here, because you really led us into a place. And for those of you,
oh, you're kind of, I can't really hear you.
Am I here now? You can hear me
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to share is for those of us who are here that might be new to Laura's teachings, we are recording this, and I highly recommend you go back and watch the recording and write down a lot of I call it homework, because sometimes, Laura, you talk about things, concepts and things that people might not have ever heard of before. And it might be time for them to hear of those things, just to have knowledge, because knowledge is power. But what you're talking about really brings me into a story of something that happened yesterday that I feel is modeling what you're talking about. So it's a real brief story. Yesterday, I went to an Indigenous women's drum, I don't even want to call it a drum circle. They're a drum group that will be at Disclosure Fest on June 18th that you'll be speaking at. And they're women drummers who accept everyone. It's everyone is welcome to come and drum. And the drums are living beings that allow us to sing our prayers. And so it's like the heartbeat of Mother Earth, right? We're feeling the heartbeat of Mother Earth. So it was at a park in Claremont, which is a beautiful little town. My radio partner, Eric, grew up there, and I can see why he's molded into the man he is, because it's such a beautiful little town. And we're at this park under the trees, and there were a lot of people there who were invited by the One Drum group. And that's, if you want to look them up, it's One Drum, DRUMM. Laura, you would love this group because I've drummed with you before, and I know how much you love to drum. So the One Drum women drummers, they would so dig you. So they're singing their prayers. We're all singing our prayers. Everybody's playing the drum. And we probably got 3 songs in, and the police showed up. So when the police showed up, Sewa, the leader of the group, went over to talk with them, and we kept singing and drumming. And we noticed a little woman, probably a little bit older woman, running towards the police, holding her phone, saying, "Officers, officers." So we all got the sense that she probably called the police, and she wasn't happy about us being in this open public park drumming. And the first thing that we all felt was to send her love. And love is the gateway. Love is the doorway. It is the way to transcend all of this. And this, when you talk about cultivating our inner alchemy, how do we do that? What does it look like? And I really felt like yesterday I was given the opportunity to see what it looks like when it's in action. And maybe it's because we talked about titling the show the universe is like, okay, we're going to see how you do with that little thing that you're going to talk about, right? It's almost like, are you throwing us a test right now? Because there was some chaos. It was very crunchy for a few moments. We had just gotten into it. This is the first time they've drummed in 2 years, probably close to 2 years. So everybody really needed those prayers. We needed those songs. We needed to feel the mother and the heartbeat. So the police, one of the things that Sewa told me after, she came back, I said, what did you say to those officers? And she said, well, I asked him if he was going to shut us down because one person was unhappy with it. But look at these other 30 or 40 people that are here that really, really are connecting with the drumming. And she said, and some of these people were just, they were just people in the park that were interested and wanted to join. And we had lots of extra drums for them to pick up, and everybody's welcome. And they're all invited in, and they all got to pick up a drum and drum however they wanted to drum because we had extras. So they got to feel the power of what happens when you connect with the drum, that heartbeat of Mother Earth. And we were so unified, and we created this beautiful container of love. The woman didn't go away right away. Another police officer came, and there was some talking, and Sewa came back, and she said, everybody face that woman and sing this prayer. And we all faced her and sang it with love in our hearts, not animosity, not judgment, not shaming her or blaming her, making her wrong. She obviously thought we were disrupting the peace. And so we wanted to bring more peace to her heart. And that's what we did. And she dropped, she said she wasn't going to, pursue it further.